Hello and welcome to Tech News Today, or TNT. My name is Keith Parks. Today we will discuss the latest tech news and the business value technology solutions can provide. The podcast is for both technical and business executives that want to understand technology updates and what the impacts can be on their business. Today's session will be an in-depth look at the importance of sustainability initiatives for your business. Today's guest, Phil Redmond, has been in the IT industry for over 20 years, with stints with Gartner, Accenture, and now with IBM in their sustainability practice. Phil is going to walk us through the importance of sustainability related to the profitability of a business. A very interesting, forward-looking discussion.
Tech News Today.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and have a quick conversation with Phil Redmond. Phil is the ecosystems lead in the Americas for the IBM Sustainability Software team. Phil, how are you doing today?
Great, Keith. Good to be here. How you doing?
I'm great. Really appreciate you coming in today. Phil, if you don't mind, maybe you can just give everybody a quick background on what your expertise is on the sustainability side.
Thanks. Well, I'm the IBM and Visi lead for sustainability and ecosystem here. And I've been doing that for almost 2 years. And we're working together to create digital solutions for sustainability leads at companies and large enterprises to help impact what we're doing in carbon emissions and ESG reporting. And so I've been doing that for 15 plus years as part of Green IT, enterprise software, leading alliances throughout many years in technology. So exciting to be at the IBM to help scale and create new solutions for the sustainability world.
Excellent. Well, Phil, really appreciate you joining us today. This should be a really good conversation. And frankly, in my opinion, really timely from a business standpoint because of all the initiatives that are going on from sustainability, not only on the business side, but from a government regulation perspective also. So, once again, really glad you're here. A couple of quick questions for you, make it really easy for you. Based on your engagements with customers, what are a few of the top sustainability actions businesses are undertaking at this time?
Yeah. So we're seeing, globally, businesses are really starting to accelerate the organizations internally around, sustainability reporting. They're looking at their internal usage of, carbon emissions and of products that they have to report on. They're creating ESG reports, sometimes numerous reports. They're gathering lots of data from their suppliers. That's a huge challenge for them today. They're gathering lots of data from their suppliers, from their customers, and they're really advancing on a lot of their sustainability reporting. And that's where they're kind of running into a lot of problems because, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resources that they may not have to do this. And it takes a lot of collaboration too. A big piece of what companies are looking at today going forward is what we call scope 3. They've been reporting on scope 1 and 2 emissions maybe for the past 3 to 5 years or even longer. Today, 96% of S&P companies in the United States are already doing that reporting. However, many of them don't have tools. And as they're starting to look to gather scope 3 information, which could be 7 to 10 times more data than they have today, it's becoming a big challenge for them, but it's becoming more of a requirement. And many organizations are kind of moving in that space and they're looking at new tools and technologies to help, reduce the time, the effort, the cost to do these reports and to gather all that data.
And interesting. So, Phil, you mentioned a couple of topics I picked up on there. One, you mentioned supply chain, and two, you just talked about scope 3. Is that the whole initiative of having your supply chain or the impact that has on your sustainability also? Is that what you're kind of mentioning?
That's right. So there's 15 different categories of scope 3, but two of the biggest ones that most companies are starting to focus on is, the upstream and the downstream. So you have to measure how your products are being used by your customers and what that carbon footprint is. But you also need to measure and understand from your suppliers what the carbon footprint is of the materials that they're providing you. And that's really complex because, large companies can have thousands, tens of thousands of suppliers they need to gather data from. And there's no standard of that data gathering. And so suppliers, of course, are also being hit up by their customers, to provide that data. And so it's a huge challenge on both sides. And really, the only thing that's going to solve that is technology. But it's just so important because that's a huge impact onto a company's carbon emissions. And even though the requirements for gathering scope 3 information and reporting on that, vary by location, and the new requirements by the SEC are not going to require scope 3 commitments and to be reporting on that. It's just a matter of time, first of all, when that will come. So over the next few years, we think scope 3 will become more of a requirement. And the second thing is that in order for us to be accurate in what our carbon footprint is, if we don't use scope 3, then we're not going to be accurate on that. And so, the idea of gathering all this information is to make an impact, to decarbonize, and to understand exactly where to start on that. And without having kind of that scope 3 information, then it's very difficult to say you're being successful in decarbonizing, even if you're doing scope 1 and 2.
Wow. So that's a talk about a huge potential curveball from a C-suite perspective of a company. Not only are you really targeted, focused on what you're doing, you've really got to understand what your supply chain is doing up and down, correct?
That's right. And your customers. So there's some things that the data is just not in your control, right? And so you have to look at technologies on how to kind of pull that data in. And so we're looking at, advanced assessment capabilities, using AI for gathering information, for sorting data. This really becomes a huge data problem. And that's why, we're really excited, to kind of bring our technology. We've been data specialists for decades. And so we're excited to, bring technology to this. A lot of today companies are using manual processes, spreadsheets, and shared folders and other things that they're doing. And that's really common. It's super common today. And sometimes companies don't want to get new technology because they're kind of stuck on what they've been doing for years. But the issues around accuracy and then auditing are going to be really important. So, one of the things that regulation is pushing for is the ability to audit, the reports that you put out. And it's going to be very difficult to do tracing and tracking through spreadsheets. And so most companies are going to need a platform to really support that and to, again, reduce the time and cost. And what we see is really that there's a return on investment that companies, make on this. 64% of CEOs from a study that we did not too long ago say they're confident that they're going to achieve these sustainability goals. And 42% of CIOs believe that sustainability in business, and digital technologies will have the greatest impact and one of the biggest areas of spend for them over the next few years, because that they see that there's a return. There's a return on what they're doing internally in terms of sourcing and resourcing and staffing. There's a return from their customers. Customers are going to want to purchase more from companies that are doing this reporting. And there's also a big return that's been proven in the investment market space. So financial services companies, investment banks, they invest in companies that are doing the right thing. And so there's trillions of dollars in the market. And so companies, and CEOs want to get a piece of that.
Wow. Yeah, truly impactful. It's interesting. We talk a lot to end users, a lot of customers. I hear a lot of discussions about it. And I think it's all over the spectrum, right? The question comes down to a lot of them look at it. Oh, is this just good marketing? Is it just something that I'm being a good corporate citizen and I can throw it up on my website and put it in my literature that, hey, we care about the planet, or is this really a way to impact profitability for a business?
Yeah, and the thing is, why can't it be all those things? And so why can't you do what's right for the environment? Why can't you do what's right for your business? And why can't you take advantage of that and let your stakeholders know, your customers, your employees, your investors, government regulators? Why can't you let them know what you're doing, that you're doing a good thing and setting a leadership position? And so I think it could be like all those things. Where it goes wrong is if, you're not actually doing the things that need to be done, doing the right reports, if there's false information, if you're promoting things that aren't necessarily helpful but that look good, that's where you're going to get yourself in trouble. That's what we call greenwashing, where you kind of make yourself look green, but in actuality you're not making a difference. And so everybody's going to look at your reports and your information, right? We're in a transparent world nowadays. We're transparent about the good things and the bad things, and so you're going to be found out. And so it's important to be transparent and honest and make efforts, right? And I think that's the key thing, is that people want to see some change. They want to see efforts in change. They want to see investments in that. Again, whether it's employees looking to work at your organization, whether it's your customers who are buying from you, whether it's investors that are going to finance your organization, whatever that is, they want to see that change happen. And so nobody's perfect right now. Nobody is in a great position, and we're all making plans and targets, and some of those are 5 years away, some of those are 25 years away. But the key thing is to make progress. And so when we want to see change on that report year after year, that's the key thing, to see that you're moving in a positive direction, where you're, reducing your emissions, where you're improving equal pay, where you're improving equal opportunities. That's what, everybody, all the stakeholders want to see, and that's what you need to report on. And then if you do well, why not talk about it? That's great, right? Show what you're doing to the world.
Got it. Got it. So it's a good idea to kind of keep your marketing and your progress kind of in tandem, how you're documented then.
Yeah, you don't want to lead with marketing, but certainly there's nothing wrong with that. And hopefully setting an example. And that's what a lot of companies are doing. A lot of tech companies are doing this. A lot of leaders are doing this. They want to set an example. And we're all in this to learn from each other too. So, by being able to talk about what you succeeded in, as well as what you failed in, right? It's not just about what you succeeded in, but there are things that you failed in. And we know nowadays it's okay to talk about your failures too, right? Because you're not really trying unless you do have some failures. So we talk about both of those, and then your colleagues, your coworkers, they can all really, your other people in your industry, they can all really learn those lessons, and that's a key thing. And that's what a great thing is about the sustainability thing, because it's not competition over who can sell more or who can profit more. It's really, we're facing this existential issue about, climate change, the impact on all of us. And obviously, that's a huge issue. And so it's really something that we're all in together, right? That every company, no matter what industry, if they're a competitor of yours, we're all in this together as companies, as people on this planet. And so everybody's willing to share, the information that they have. Again, what their successes were, what their failures were, best practices. It's a great community. And so it's important to be, a part of that community and to share that information.
All right. Oh, that's a great answer. I mean, it truly makes a lot of sense. So, next question for us is kind of, I like to put this out there just from a forward thinking perspective as far as people we interview. Looking forward over the next 1, 3, 5 years. How do you see sustainability in the marketplace? Not only from an investment standpoint, but gotchas or concerns that customers might have on embarking on this journey.
Yeah, so I mean, sustainability is very broad, and each company has what's called a materiality about what's important to them and kind of what they can impact. Hopefully, totally overall, we're all moving in the right direction. And so, over the next couple of years, I think one, we're going to see more regulation that comes out because, I think that we have a certain time frame for this, and we're seeing, the changes in our environment already, whether it's warm winters or cold summers or excessive storms and you name it, right? We've all seen that. And, the weather certainly can change, but we know that there's an impact on that. And we know that there's an impact on droughts and, people are going to get hungry and there's going to be, floods and people are going to die and all these things are going to happen. And so there's going to be an acceleration of what we can do to do the best outcome. And so regulation is going to drive that. And so, today, depending on different countries, there's different regulations around, first of all, kind of what you should report on. And that's what we're going to get into next is, you are required to report these types of risks. That's what the SEC requirements that are emerging, right? They just announced just last week, and that will go into effect next year, bar any type of, lawsuits against that. It's regulation to kind of do that reporting. And the second piece is there's going to be monitoring on this in the next couple of years. And so it's going to be monitored to make sure that you're being accurate and that you're making changes. And then the third piece, I believe there's going to be taxation on some of this too. And so there's going to be something called carbon tax. So just like you have a tax on your income, you could have a tax on your output of your carbon emissions. And so your organization may get a certain level of carbon emissions they can emit every year. And if you go above that, you can pay a tax. And that tax could end up in the millions of dollars per year. Because all this is really trying to drive towards a solution, towards decarbonization, towards reducing that emissions. Now, we've signed a global compact in the United States that we're going to reduce our emissions to zero by 2050. But there are some countries that are looking to do this by 2040 and even by
Mm,
2030. So just a few years
wow.
away,
Yeah, that's
right? And that
close.
takes a lot of effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Earlier you mentioned AI, and this always seems to come up in an AI conversation. It's kind of a joke, but at the same time, do you think that what are we going to do AI and sustainability? Is that like a killer robot with got a conscience? What are you talking about here?
Yeah, no, AI, there's lots of various forms of AI, right? And the thing that we like most about AI as humans is that it makes our life easier, we hope, right? We like
Right.
to have conveniences. And so anything that helps, automate something or helps like increase capabilities, right? That's important. And so yeah, we don't have any robots yet. I'm waiting for the AI robot that will come and, do our wash and fold our clothes and
Ooh,
cut
the
the lawn
Jetsons.
and you know, we got a couple of feet of snow, head them out there to go shovel that, right? Their back will be better than mine. But right now we're talking about basic AI capabilities to do things like automate the ingestion of data, to sort data better. So an example of that is, I've talked to a number of companies, large companies, and they're like, hey, we have 1.2 million categories of data that we do for our purchases or for our employee travel. And we need to sort all this data that comes in. And today we do kind of this manual mapping, right? Because we know what fits where, right? Well, why not use an artificial intelligence for doing that, right? So we take our own intelligence, we can kind of have the artificial intelligence monitor what we're doing, and it learns on how to do that mapping itself. So we no longer have to manually ingest data and data map it. And that's just a huge area. It sounds so small, but we've already included things like natural language processing in some of our own sustainability solutions in order to be able to optimize, that recognition, optimize that data ingestion, and reduce the workload dramatically for organizations. So, that's just one example where it's super exciting to, be able to automate something that's like a real manual process that nobody wants to do or nobody has time to do it.
Ah, absolutely. Well, I want one of those home robots also. So let me know when that's available. That'd be great.
Coming up in the next holiday season, I'm sure.
There you go. Excellent. Well, Phil, I really appreciate your time today. I got one last question for you, if you don't mind. For a company that's looking at sustainability, or like you said, everyone's kind of done a little bit of work on it. What's a great way to get started? Is there any low hanging fruit model that you see kind of consistently from your customers as far as how they engage or what the next steps are?
Yeah, well, the next steps is to kind of, first of all, if you haven't done it, take that internal look of where you are and put your organization together, create your requirements and kind of what your focus is going to be. And then, put together also a budget. So a lot of organizations are just starting to, enable budgets for these organizations. They're usually pretty small. And then also focus on it as a cost, instead of a cost center, as an opportunity to improve your revenue or improve your business. And so there are things you can definitely do based upon your business that, are both sustainable and will help drive revenue and will improve your business. And so rather than sustainability technology or the team becoming a cost, right, which means that you're pushing the rock uphill, if you can show that how it optimizes your business, because maybe it's, you're in consumer packaged goods and it helps with the farming element that you have, by using sustainability practices and techniques, or you're in oil and gas, right, and you're reducing some electrical usages because you're now monitoring and prioritizing kind of where that emissions are coming from, and you can see different areas that you can do improvement that reduce your costs, right? These are things that are going to help drive sustainability of your company. So I think it's both hand in hand, that you're doing good for your company, for the environment, but you're also doing good for your business too, because there are ways that you can optimize your business and reduce your costs and help drive your profits, even with sustainability techniques.
Makes a lot of sense. Phil, I'll just let you wrap on this if you don't mind. Maybe do a quick commercial from an IBM standpoint. I think it would be very helpful for customers, if nothing else. And obviously, there's other competitors to IBM on this model, but to bring in someone that's got the expertise you guys have, to look at a vertical, to look at your competitors, how they're doing it. Is that something that you guys would provide from an IBM standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really one of the few companies, the only company that can support, enterprises, large enterprises on this, because we have software that's, running managing their assets, their data centers, their supply chain, their facilities that are driving, a lot of the data that goes into your carbon emissions and your calculation. And so we have integrated all these different platforms around sustainability in order to have the biggest impact. And, today, the impact is huge because companies account for about 80% of carbon emissions. So all the work we're doing on recycling at our home and turning off lights and maybe riding our bike instead of taking the car is all really good, but it's just kind of a drop in the bucket compared to what companies are doing today. And so if we are impacting and working with large companies and we've got great solutions, and the only company, the only organization in this space that has the technology to support across these different industries, as well as carbon calculation, right? That's going to make the biggest impact. And that's why IBM has gotten into this just a couple of years ago. We've been reporting on our carbon emissions since the 1990s, and we've had environmental
Wow.
policies since the 50s. So we've been doing this internally, and so we know how large enterprises and complex enterprises, right? And IBM is certainly one of them, needs to manage this. And so we're bringing that same experience and that same focus on sustainability to our customers. And so it's really exciting to do that. We're seeing a huge growth in this area. We're seeing lots of opportunities for customers to learn and will learn with us, as well as kind of take these technologies and really make an impact on what they're doing, helping them meet their targets and commitments. So yeah, really excited to show you what we're doing. And if anybody has any questions and wants to see something, let me know. I'm happy to set them up.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, Phil, I really appreciate your time today. And everyone, just so you know, we've got a webinar coming up on the 21st of March at 1 o'clock Central, where Phil and team are going to go through a lot of the other solutions that are available from a sustainability model and AI standpoint. Phil, really appreciate your time today. Any final words you want to leave the audience with today?
Well, thanks, Keith. I think, real interesting conversation. Look forward to the webinar where we're going to talk about the impact of AI on sustainability and get a little bit deeper into that. Everybody has their own challenges, right? But there are solutions that are out there that we can help with. So look forward to talking to you about it.
Excellent. Well, Phil, thanks a lot. Really appreciate your time today. I hope your rest of your day is awesome.
Dane, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Hey, thank you for joining us to this Tech News Today session. We really appreciate your time and strive to provide valuable content. If you'd like to be notified when we post new videos, please like and subscribe to this channel. You know, my company IDS produces over 250 technology events every year, focusing on the tech value and the good and bad impacts on business. Topics include cybersecurity, AI, sustainability, cloud strategy, and other current technology solution topics. If you're interested in attending some of our events, please see the link below or send me an email to kparks@innovateims.com and we will send your invitations to our upcoming events. Thanks again for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you on a future TNT session. I hope you have a great rest of your day. So long.